Well, hello, Aldo, and thank you so much for kindly agreeing to talk to me about the shamanic path for Not Just Yoga.
Well, thank you. Great to be here.
Well, it is a calling, isn't it, being a shaman? Do you remember when you got the call?
Yes, I do. And it's a very long, complex story, but I can give you a very edited down version of it.
Yes, please.
Uh, yeah, I come from a lineage of storytellers, land people, people that are very much associated with the land, healers, musicians, you know. So I had a lineage running through me, but it took a really deep experience in my life to realize that I need to look at this at a deeper level. That experience was an extreme addiction, almost death addiction. So I did have a near-death experience about 18, 19 years ago with a very powerful, a very, very profound experience in that addiction towards the end of the addiction, where I've had a spirit visitation from an ancestor who literally took the addiction from me in my hospital bed. And that's how severe I was within my addiction, that my liver was about to shut down. I was in a terrible state, and I was told that there's a possibility that your life is in extreme danger at the moment. And after that spirit visitation, everything began to get better. And never to this day, while I sit here talking to you, did I ever crave alcohol ever since that spirit intervention. And after that experience, Natasha, I needed to explore what happened. I randomly, which is no such thing, but I randomly, if you want to call it that, bumped into a shaman down in County Limerick, 150 miles south of where we're based here in County Mayo in the west of Ireland. And I began to train in shamanism from that point forwards. So that was my calling. In a lot of the ancient traditions of shamanism, there are a number of areas that the elders and the shamans will say that there are these specific life events that bring people down that pathway of shamanism.
I mean, yeah, there's something about hitting rock bottom. Like even if you read, especially in that book, The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner, for example, when he talks about some of the things that he was put through, they're extremely life-threatening. It's like you have to hit the absolute extreme to be so awake and so here and now. It's life or death. It's all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about that.
Essentially what that is, it's the death of elements of the person. But in many cases, they're extreme events that take place that is the cull of the individual. In other words, elements of the individual that needs to die in order for that individual to become reborn and to move on to that new fresh pathway. And Natasha, in some traditions in South America, the individual will not recognize even the names they had before the event. They completely change their names and they say this is a rebirth. It's the death of the individual, the death of the ego, the death of elements that they carry that has no longer serves them or most likely never served them.
Yeah.
And they're the extreme events. So my story is that particular story that I mentioned. One of the big accolades in some of the South American shamanism would be that the jaguar visits the shaman and tears the shaman apart. Well, we won't call them a shaman at that point, pre-shaman, but they will be torn apart. And it's a big accolade that they will be torn asunder and that they will be remembered but into the stronger version of them, minus the energies that, in other words, minus what's been taken away.
Well, that brings me on to the mythological stories from so many different traditions. They have that same thing of dismembering, the pulling everything apart and then putting together again into this new healed person. But before we go so far, I'd like to, just for those who might not know what a shaman is, I've just taken a really nice quote from Michael Harner and I'm using Michael Harner, because he's a brilliant anthropologist who was an excellent shaman, recognized shaman, but also because a student of his was your teacher. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And there's a very direct, very close lineage to Michael Harner's teachings. And Michael Harner is a very interesting gentleman who passed away 3 or 4 years ago. But a very interesting gentleman who was an academic. He was an anthropologist, and his anthropological studies were based on visiting the tribes in the Shuar tribe of Ecuador. I think it's Ecuador. Tribes in Mongolia, Siberia, Africa, Australia. And I guess what Michael Harner picked up from this anthropological studies were practices and rituals, behaviors, etc., mythology and everything else associated with these various tribes. And what he found was, which is the most amazing thing in shamanism, is that the tribes in Peru had similar practices to the tribes in Mongolia, who were thousands of miles apart, but they had similar practices. And he was fascinated with this. And what he developed over time, based in the US, was the foundation of shamanic studies, which, how I would explain to people, would be that it's all shamanic practices around the world brought into one common language. And that's what core shamanism is. And what he has done, which is an amazing, because he's brought it back to the Western world and the key word there is brought it back, that has been lost through modern religion, invasions and everything else that has taken place through that European landmass. And some people will talk negatively about it, saying that it's the prefabricated or pre-manufactured form of white man's shamanism. Some people will negatively look at it that way, but I mean, shamanism is human. It's a human thing. It's not a thing that's just forged in South America or Siberia. It's a human experience,
Yeah. Primal, even.
Yeah. We have to look at it broadly in that way, Natasha, because you will have you'll have a lot of this kind of, the white man is the shaman. It's wrong. It's not right. But
So coming back to this quote that I thought I would just share, and then we could use this as a jumping off point as to maybe see how it correlates to what you do. He says that a shaman is a man or woman who enters an altered state of consciousness at will to contact and utilize an ordinarily hidden reality in order to acquire knowledge, power, and to help other persons.
yes,
The shaman has at least one and usually more spirits in his personal service.
that's excellent. The individual shaman will travel to another realm, another world, to gather knowledge from that place in order to return from that world and share that knowledge with the community that will help the community in a predicament or whatever the case may be, or an individual that's in a predicament that needs to be brought back into a state of balance. And, one of the most basic explanations in shamanism is when the chief of the tribe asks the shaman to gather some information from the other world, or the world of spirit, in order to help the tribe with the predicament they're in. So it can be something as basic as, where is the best place to hunt? Where can we find water? We've run out of water. Where can we go and find water? It can be as simple as that. The understanding is that the spirits are the wise ones. The spirits, the ancestors, carry this powerful wisdom, this powerful knowing, where the humans will need to commune with them in order to gather this information. So the Michael Harner quote is a male or a female who can travel at will, can travel into another dimension or enter an altered state of reality in order to gather something from that space. And that is the absolute basic thread of shamanism.
I've just got another little bit of a quote that I'm going to add on to that.
Yeah.
The shaman specializes in a trance during which his soul is said to ascend to the sky or descend to the underworld with the aim to heal a patient by restoring beneficial or vital power or by extracting harmful power. So this heal a patient by restoring beneficial or vital power.
Yeah.
How would you translate that into today's language?
Yeah, so let me give you a very, very basic quote from a tribe based in Bolivia. The woman is in the forest and she gets bitten by a snake. The woman returns back to the village, but she only partially returns. She only partially returns back to the village. And she seeks the help of the shaman immediately. So, along with using herbs and different medicines to help with the snake bite or to extract the venom, which is essential. There's also a very essential component required is that she has not returned back to the village in her entirety. She was frightened by the experience in the forest, and what happened to her through that fright is that an element of her vital power was driven out of her through that fright. And that vital power remains in the forest. But the woman returns back to the village and they take care of her. They extract the venom. They use herbs and different medicines to help with this physical problem. But the story is that it is not just the physical problem that needs to be looked after. It's that an element of her spirit, her soul, has been driven out of her through that fright. And the shaman will return to the forest. He will find that element of her, that element of her soul, and he will bring it back to the bed in which she lays on, and he will restore this energy back to her. And this is what I would work a lot of my time working with, bringing back power to people that they have lost it. So it's definitely not snake bite here in Ireland, because remember, St. Patrick got rid of all the snakes in Ireland, so we don't have snakes here. So the story goes.
Yeah.
But it is other things. It is the car accident. It's the assault. It's the sexual abuse. It's many things that happen here in the modern world where people lose their vital power through these frights, through these extreme events that may take place in somebody's life. And my work is known as soul retrieval. Part of my work is soul retrieval, knowing that elements of people's soul have fragmented through these frights and these traumas they've experienced. And it's the work of the shaman to try and restore and find those soul pieces and to restore them back to the individual, to allow them to be at a better level, a deeper level of wholeness, which will allow them to heal at a deeper level relative to that negative experience they had. It's two things. It's bringing back what they've lost, but it's also extracting what they may have absorbed through these experiences as well. So it's all about balance, Natasha. You know.
Yes, of course. And what are the tools that you use to do this for people?
Tools I use, well, the very basic, simple shamanic drum is the tool that we will use. We can use other important tools like rattles, but what they are for is that these soul pieces will be discovered by the shaman in the altered state. So the shaman will enter the altered state. He will travel to a particular place or location to find this lost energy and to bring it back. So when the quote that you mentioned there is when an individual embarks on a shamanic journey, it's that the soul of the shaman will leave the body and it will travel to one of these other worlds and discover something there, information or a soul piece. So obviously it's not the physical body that's traveling there, but it's the soul that travels, moves outwards from the body, travels through these pathways that the shaman knows very well. And there's something to be found at the end of that pathway. That's where the magic will be found. So the shamanic vision is the vision, the shaman's vision is partly the physical reality we live in. But the shaman's vision is typically or most always in the altered state.
Now, this is going to involve the journey, which I just want to let everyone know that we have a special treat. That Aldo has kindly given us a recording of a journey to the Cave of Treasures. So after our conversation, I will put the recording on and you can have your own experience of what a journey is.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Aldo. Before that, let's talk a little bit about the cosmology, and then perhaps from that cosmology go into the different types of journeys that are out there.
Yeah.
for the shaman?
Yeah. So the art behind me here is known as the Tree of Life, and particularly in Celtic shamanism, the Tree of Life would be a depiction of the cosmology. Um, so the cosmology would represent the leaves and the branches of the tree behind me, which is a good reference point, would represent the upper realms, the upper world, which is the places of the ascended masters, the gods, the goddesses. The trunk of the tree represents the world we live in, the ordinary state of reality, which is the world we live in now. And we're present, physically present in this world. And the roots, the ornate roots of the tree represents the lower world. And the lower world is a place where we can connect with our spirit guides, spirit animals, and gather soul pieces from the lower world. And so we can do a lot of our work from that lower realm. So the lower world, in the Irish tradition, the lower world is the inverted version of this physical world we live in. It's a place that we would be quite familiar with in the sense that it has trees, mountains, rivers, waterfalls, and the natural world, but it's an inversion of this world we live in. It's an inversion. So in the Celtic tradition, there would be the upper, middle, and lower world in the Celtic cosmology. But it can be far more complex than that too, because in our authentically Irish tradition in shamanism, the worlds would be presented or experienced as islands out at sea, islands. What we call these are Imrama. Now they're Imrama journeys. And Imrama means voyage by sea. That if you get into your boat, or our traditional Irish rowing boat here would be known as the curragh, that if you get on the boat and your intention is to arrive on the island of Bridget, for example, so the goddess Bridget, if we want to meet Bridget and commune with her, we get in our curragh and we begin to row out to sea, and eventually we'll run aground on an island. And when we get onto that island, get off the curragh, get onto the island is where we will connect with Bridget. But there's the island of the ancestors, there's the island of the fairies, Elon Nashi, the island of the fairies. There's the island for whatever you want the island to be. That all depends on your intention and why are you embarking on this particular voyage. So it's very much embedded in our Irish mythology that these men get on this curragh and they end up arriving on multiple different kinds of islands. But that's where the healing will be found, and the knowledge will be gathered from these island places. Essentially, Natasha, the islands represent the worlds in the Irish. I'm not particularly saying Celtic, I'm saying Irish, which there's a lot of confusion. Celtic is very specific. It's very specific, It's like Norman or Viking, they're quite specific. When I say Irish, I'm talking about pre-Celtic traditions. Traditions are long before the Celts. The Celts are recent newcomers to Ireland in the grand scheme of time.
Right.
Yeah, they're relatively recent newcomers, where if we go back to the Mesolithic period or the Neolithic period, so Mesolithic from 10,000 years to 6,000 years Mesolithic, and from 6,000 years to 4,500 years Neolithic, and then we have these groups of people that travel in from places like modern day Turkey, or areas like places called Ukraine. All of the Bronze Age people in Ireland and the UK would have originated from roughly the area where modern day Ukraine is.
Aha.
So the movement of people is very important, as this is what I teach is, the funerary rites or the funerary practices of the Mesolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age people in this country. And it's multi-layered, more than the UK, it's multi-layered.
We'll be embarking on a journey, so I thought we'd spend a little bit of time with that. Like there's the journey to go and meet your spirit animal. I find that quite interesting. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, does one have to have only one, or can they have a number of different spirit animals? And what does it mean when you have a certain spirit animal that's with you?
Well, the amount of spirit animals an individual has can be to do with multiple different reasons. So let's say you come to me for a shamanic healing and we're talking about spirit animals. You will come across particular spirit animals for a very specific reason. So think of spirit animals as medicine that you require. Okay. If you lack in courage, bravery, forward direction, and in your shamanic journey, a beautiful lion presents in your journey, it means that within that journey, as a medicine, you will absorb something from that spirit animal as a medicine.
Oh, okay.
So the lion would represent courage, strength, vitality, power. If you lack that in your person, the spirit animal will present to allow you to absorb its medicine, its energy, and its characteristics to help you with that inhibition. If you have the inability, for one reason or another, to see the world in a box, the eagle could come to you, or the giraffe could come to you. And what they represent is seeing things from a higher perspective. So the giraffe sees things from a higher perspective. So the eagle-eyed view of things. So it gets you out of the box. It allows you to see things from a far broader way. If the snake comes to you in a shamanic journey, it means you need to shed your old skin. You need to enter a rebirth phase. So the skin will come off the snake, and the snake will slither off in a rebirth. It's left the old behind. Some people, if they have to come across a snake in a shamanic journey, they would see it as a negative. Oh, the sharp-toothed snake. In fact, that's just a conditioned way of viewing the snake. The snake is all about you shedding your skin, and we all need to shed our skin. So if you can see what I mean by that, Natasha, is that they will come to you because this is the medicine that you require at that point in time.
Like whenever I've done a shamanic journey, any of the animals that come to me, they always feel like they're a part of me.
Yeah. Well, reflectively they are. If they're within you, yes, there's an affinity there then. So the affinities are something within you that has an internal connection and relationship, and it also has an external connection and relationship too.
Well, these journeys seem to give us gifts or messages that help us on our path. But is there something that we should not do or we should be careful of when we embark on a journey?
Yeah, I mean, there are, a journey to the island of the fairies is one that needs to be undertaken with great care as well. The Elon and she with great care. So as long as it's guided and it's done in a disciplined way and you follow the process of it, then every human being has the ability to practice these otherworldly journeys.
I suppose my question is, for example, you shouldn't take anything from
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
And so what could happen, or what is it that things like that we should not do or be wary of?
Well, I guess, yes, we take nothing from there. I mean, essentially at the end of the day, the journeyer becomes the observer and also adheres to the advice given by spirit. And we don't take anything from there. We go there respectfully. We go there certainly to observe and to gladly or gratefully take on information from the spirits. So when we go to the cave of treasures, or we go to the lower world to gather soul pieces, yes, if you're gathering a soul piece from the lower world, you are taking something from there, but you're taking back what's rightfully yours. It's an energy belonging to you. But the only advice I can give, without getting too complicated or too deep into it, is go there with reverence, with respect, go there with great patience. Never go there over-expecting. Be the observer and be grateful to observe. Listen to the advice given. I suppose one of the things I would say to people is, if a spirit guide gives you a piece of advice on a shamanic journey, I would strongly advise people take heed of it. They listen to it and they respect the advice given. So I don't want to put a big caveat or a big,
I just wanted to check.
Yeah, because it becomes a deterrent for people, especially for people that might have never done it before. It may become a deterrent. But within the confines and the discipline of our shamanic work, and we go there with reverence, respect, interested, we're patient, we're never over-expecting, we will always receive something powerful from that space, Now,
Sure.
in deeper shamanism, and let's say this podcast was to advanced shamanic students, or there would be some advice that I would give there as well. But that would be for people that would be very advanced in their shamanic work, and that you would be, there would be areas that you would be wary of, or that you would be vigilant of anyway. If you're training with me in shamanism, Natasha, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to search for some spirit guides that will be they will be your mentors in the spirit world, but they'll also be your protectors. They will also be your advisors. So if we go on the path of training in shamanism, we will build this knowledge, this understanding, and this resilience. And we build a step by step from there.
And then how would you keep your helper happy and with you?
Yeah, it's a bit like your neighbor, It's always good to visit your next door neighbor every now and again. Visit your next door neighbor and say, how you doing?
With a box of chocolates.
Well. Yeah, something like that. I mean, how we continue to build the relationship with spirit within and keep those spirits, close to us, is that it is these shamanic journeys. I will always say to people, the more we connect with spirit, the stronger the bond that's created. And it's a bit like a friend. To keep friendships, you got to maintain the friendship. Yeah. In other words, visit the person, talk with them, commune with them, and that's the most important thing. So the more we connect with them through these shamanic journeys, the stronger the bond, the more they work on our behalf. But if you don't maintain the very basic bread and butter of shamanism, the real basic stuff, you will find that the spirits will begin to get disinterested and they will begin to go further away. I've seen this with shamans before who became a little bit too egotistical, became a little bit too fond of money, and they felt that they were above these practices. And they very quickly came down to the planet Earth with a bang, because the spirits will not support the ego, the money drive, and they will step back. And if the shaman doesn't have the spirits on his or her side, then the shaman is completely powerless. The shaman has no power then, So maintain.
So I've got two more questions, and one is related to just any contraindications. For example, if someone is suffering from depression, is it okay for them to undergo the journey?
Do you mean on this?
This little one that you've given us the recording.
Yeah. So the Cave of Treasures journey is specifically that there is something left there in the way of a gift. It's an energy essentially, and what that can do for people is the real positive behind that is to say something will be left there for the individual to observe, and that can be something really, really positive, or maybe something from the past, or something that they have forgotten about. And it can give them this phenomenal uplift. So there's I work with people that suffer from depression. I'm a counselor, so I work with a lot of people that are in the throes of addiction, heroin, alcohol, whatever, sex addiction, many different addictions that people may have. And I work with people that are diagnosed with schizophrenia and many other imbalances. Shamans would look at what we would deem in the modern world as mental health problems. Shamans really look at it in a very different way. However, there's no exclusion within shamanic work whatsoever. If a person is depressed, they need to be powered up. And the powering up is possibly, or most likely, something that they've lost. And the shaman will regain. So there's no exclusion within it. I work with people on all different levels. If you want to put it in the brackets of mental health, I see great, progress made by people that have been almost thrown to the wayside in this modern world, put into these drab grey buildings known as psychiatric hospitals. They've been loaded up with pills, and they don't have a chance at all because they've gone into this vicious cycle of, the world of medicine. And I do work with those people, Natasha, but when somebody is on a lot of psychiatric medicines, it's a little bit more difficult for me to penetrate, but I don't lose sight, and I will, because this buffer zone has been created through the medicine. It's like been wrapped in bubble wrap, and we can penetrate it. But so somebody who's suffering from depression, I would feel they will get a great power lift by doing a shamanic journey if they're willing to do it. Yeah,
and it's okay for them to do it alone. I mean, guided, but without someone else like yourself there.
Oh yeah, well, I would advise, if you're going to do that journey that you're going to pop up there on the link,
Yeah.
I would say to people, get into a place where you feel that you will not be disturbed. If you're lucky enough to go down to the beach or go to the forest or whatever the case may be, and just sit and connect with the energy of Mother Earth and work through the breathing. I will guide the individuals through the breathing exercises and finding yourself there. And as I verbally guide the journey, that they will be brought on the journey and they will be guided by spirit on that journey. And there will be something really powerful to find in there. There's no question about it.
It's a beautiful journey. I've done it twice already, and both times were special in different ways. And just one more thing, because there's the thing about the journey is that drum. And it is the drum that changes the state of consciousness and gives you this blissful arena.
Absolutely,
and you really do play the drum in a very, it's so steady and so, like, it really does take you inside.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking to somebody from the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma, they would tell you, we've never used a drum ever as a tribe, but they would use rattles, the rattle. It's all about, it's as Michael Harner would explain it to be, it's a monotonous, mundane, constant sound that will drive you into the altered state. And Michael Harner would refer to it as sonic driving. And sonic driving means that a monotonous, constant sound, while your eyes are closed and you're in the frame and you want to otherworldly travel, that this constant sound will create the theta state. So we can call it the theta brainwave state. So the ideal place to be is like when you are between places. So the theta state between when you're in bed and you're lying in your bed and you're just floating off to sleep, that's the theta state. Shamans are not completely knocked out by wind. They're between places and the corridor opens up. And that is
It's the balance again. It's neither nor.
Yes.
The between and betwixt.
Between worlds, between places. It's everything is found. Even the shamanic drum, the healing the only place you will find the healing in playing the shamanic drum is between the beats. The true place that we'll find our consciousness is between the breath. Or some will say between the heartbeats. That's where you'll find true consciousness, between the heartbeat, between the breath. Everything is between, to enter this altered state between spaces. That's the ideal. The drum will get us into that theta state, into that altered state or shamanic state of consciousness. Now, if you went to the Aboriginal tribes in Australia, they will bring you there through a very, very simple 2 sticks, and you tap them together, called the click sticks. Click, 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 click. Some Amazonian tribes, they will actually sit in silence and they will tip their tongue off the roof of their mouth to find themselves entering this altered state. There are multiple ways to get there, but it is normally this monotonous, constant sound that will eventually drive you into that altered state.
Yeah.
Dance, breathwork, yes. Ecstatic dance, yes. The Mongolian shamans will do this crazy dance around the fire. They're this frenzy. They say that the word shaman can also mean one on fire. The shaman has gone into this frenzy, this chaotic frenzy of movement, that the shaman now is on fire. So that's what the word shaman. Shaman can also mean one who knows. It can be a simple explanation. One who knows. In Celtic shamanism, if you're about to otherworldly travel, they say, there is a fire in my head. I am about to move out of this ordinary state of reality. I'm going to move into an altered state. The altered state can be brought in multiple different ways, traditionally through the drum and through rattles and through click sticks. But, artists are always in and out of altered states. If you're creating a piece of art, you're entering an altered state. If you're, writing a song or a poem or singing, in fact, we're constantly in and out of these altered states of consciousness multiple times a day. People may not realize it, but we are moving in and out of them. But to answer the question, and I think I'm answering the question, the altered state, typically, traditionally, in shamanic work, is initiated through the sound of a drum or a rattle or click sticks, or maybe a didgeridoo, and the Mongolians use mouth harps, so...
Yeah. But it is, it's like music, it's said to be the first language, and it's also, because there are no words, there's no chance of misunderstanding anything, because it's a feeling. So I think that probably has something to do with it. But Aldo, that's amazing. Thank you so much for all this wonderful wisdom that you have shared with us. I just want to say that if anyone is interested in finding out more about Aldo, I'm going to put all his details below so that you can contact him either via Instagram or his website, and whatever else he gives me to put there. And so now we are going to leave you to embark on your own journey to the Cave of Treasures. Thank you, Aldo.
And thank you.
As we embark on a journey to the Cave of Treasures, and as you visualize yourself in that space, that happy place that conjures up happy memories, the place where you feel a deep sense of inner peace, a place you feel protected, a place you feel joyful, visualize yourself in that place. Begin to work with your breathing and the very simple cycles of breathing. Deep breaths into your nose, filling your lungs to capacity, holding the breath for a couple of seconds, and release that breath out through your mouth, emptying your lungs completely. Work with the cycle of breathing. Deep breaths in through the nose, fill those lungs right up to capacity, hold the breath, and then release the breath out through your mouth, emptying your lungs completely. And as we begin to work through the cycle of breathing, let's breathe in the healing energy of the earth. Let's fill our lungs with that powerful healing energy. Let that healing energy transfer right throughout your body, to every little cell in your body. And as you release that energy, release any of the worries, stresses, strains, or anxieties you may harbour deep within. Breathe it out through your mouth, release it, and feel it leaving your body. Sometimes you can visualize it as a plume of dark smoke as you breathe out. You're breathing out the anxiety, the stress that's built up over the last few days. Release it. Okay. Continue with the cycle of breathing. Set your intention. What is the basis of this shamanic journey? Well, there's a number of intentions behind this. Connect with spirit. Begin to familiarize yourself with the lower world in our shamanic cosmology. To see what gifts are left there by spirit for you to connect with, for you to feel, for you to observe. The entry point into the lower world today will be through the oak tree, a traditional method of entry into the lower world. The drum, the magic drum, the shamanic drum, will help create the theta brainwave state, which will help us to connect with that shamanic state of consciousness. And as we begin slowly but surely to move out of the ordinary state of consciousness into the shamanic state of consciousness, we are preparing ourselves to journey, to gather information, insight, and healing. Continue with your breathing. For a few more moments. Safe place, sanctuary, breathing. Sound of the drum. Intention. Building that platform to embark on the journey. Slow down on the breathing, and we will now begin to move outwards on this journey to the lower world. If your safe place is indoors, visualize yourself leaving that space and making your way to the great outdoors. So if your safe place is indoors, stand up and begin to make your way to the great outdoors. If your safe place is outdoors, stand up from that place. What we are all searching for now is what we call the golden path. There is a golden pathway somewhere nearby for you to discover and for you to follow. Everything from here on in is done in silence. That includes our breathing, nice and silent, in the room, with the sound of the drum only. Find the golden path. If you're finding it difficult to find it, ask Spirit to illuminate that path a little bit more so it'll become more visual. It will be unmistakable. It will glow in a wonderful golden color. Get yourself onto the golden path and follow the golden path. It will lead you to the oak tree, which we will use as an entry point into the lower world. Follow the golden path. It would lead through country byroads, maybe through fields and forests, hills and bogs. Follow it. Eventually the golden path will lead to a red small field with lots of rocks and boulders, and at the center of the field grows a beautiful large oak tree. When you reach the red gate, open the gate and walk into the field. The golden path will remain there for your return. Open the wooden gate, that red wooden gate. Walk into that little field. An ancient energy will be felt here. From the stones, the white thorn trees that grow on the field. And in the center of that field will be the beautiful, large, strong oak tree. Walk towards the oak tree. Place your hands on the trunk of the tree and feel its energy. The oak tree represents strength and grounding. Take on the medicine of the mighty oak. Allow that energy to travel up through your hands and your arms and connect with your heart center. Feel your heart begin to expand with strength and love. And as we touch the tree will get to know us as we will get to know it. Feel the heat from the tree travel up your arms. Disengage from the tree and step back for a moment. To reach the doorway, as the tree is a doorway to the lower world, we trust and we begin to step forwards, walking right towards the tree. And what you will find is you walk right through the tree and find yourself right in the center of the oak tree. And you will find yourself being surrounded and bathed in a beautiful white light. This white light is from the heart of the oak. Immerse yourself in that brilliant white light. Feel you absorbing the energy into your chakras and right into every little cell in the body. This is a cleansing or a purification, a blessing from the tree. Suspend yourself in that space. A suspension. A liminal place. You are now neither in the physical world or the lower world yet. You're in that liminal in-between space. And if you listen close enough, the oak tree will have a message for you. Listen closely. Listen to what the oak tree has to say. A message for you. message, absorb it, take heed of the message. And now it's time to move outwards. Walk out of the tree in the opposite direction in which you walked in. Just step outwards and trust. And as you step out, you will find yourself moving out of the center of the tree to the outside of the tree. But now you will find yourself in a very different space. You will find yourself in a forest. This is the lower world forest. The tree will remain as always for your return, as a gateway for you to return back. Let's walk down through the forest, and what you will see on the floor is a little pathway or animal track that leads across the forest floor. It weaves among the tall trees. Listen to the sounds that surround you. The birds singing their songs of joy. The bees, the butterflies as they flutter by. The smells, let's use our senses. What can you smell? Can you smell the flowers of the forest? Can you smell the soil? What you can see, what can you see? Look around, do a 360-degree turn. Look up into the canopy of these beautiful trees. What can you feel? Can you feel the deeply grounding energy of the lower world? Can you feel the leaves beneath your feet? Be vigilant on your lower world shamanic journey of the animals presenting as spirit animals, but also presentations of spirits, ancestral spirits, or otherwise, spirits in human-like form. Maybe the spirit of the tree, the spirit of the flower. Just be vigilant and continue walking the pathway. Up ahead of you, not too far away, it looks like a cliff face. Like a hill, a rocky hill with a cliff face. And as you continue to walk along the pathway, you will begin to see that this cliff face has an entrance. And this is the entrance to the cave of treasures. Make your way to the entrance. And when you reach the entrance, on the ground on the right hand side, there will be a large white pillar candle burning brightly. Reach down and pick up that candle with both hands. The white candle represents cleansing and purification. The flame of the candle represents your soul. The candle will also be used to illuminate the entrance to the cave of treasures. Now begin to walk forwards in through that cave entrance, holding the candle in front of you, and the candle begins to illuminate your way in. And as you continue to walk through that cave entrance, you will see it begins to get wider and wider until eventually that cave entrance connects with the overall cave or cavern. Walk down through the cavern, and at the back of the cavern you will begin to see that there is an old wooden table at the end of this cavern, this cave. On the table there is an old leather-bound book, and underneath the table there is an old-fashioned style chest. When you reach the table, leave your candle on the table. Turn that book to page 11. And on page 11 there will be a message there for you. Read the message. Try to remember what the message says. And then close the book. Read the message, close the book. And concentrate on the chest underneath that table. Pull that old-fashioned style chest from underneath the table. In this chest, there are 3 gifts left there for you by Spirit. They all have symbolic meaning. Slowly open the lid of the chest and look inside. Take each of the treasures out of the treasure chest and look at them. Observe them. Feel them. One by one. When you have completed looking at them and feeling the energy from them, leave them back into the chest and close the lid. Treasure chest back in under that wooden table. Take the candle back in to your hands. Walk around the cavern for a couple of moments. Is there anything there that you can connect with? A spirit presented in human or animal-like form? Never miss the opportunity. Communicate with Spirit. Ask them how they are and who they are, and have they a message for you today? Ask them, are they presenting as a spirit guide? It's time to begin the return journey. Holding your pillar candle, begin to slowly and gradually make your way back from the cave through the entrance and make your way back out outside again. Leave the candle back down in the very place in which you found it. The candle will never grow small, it will always burn brightly, just like you. And it will always be there for future journeys back to the cave. Leave it there so you can connect with it again. Thank the cave for the connection today. And thank Spirit for leaving the gifts there and the messages there for you. Now slowly begin to make your way back from the cave, following the pathway or the animal track as it leads you back through the forest, as it weaves among the tall trees. Always be vigilant of Spirit presenting listening to the songs of the birds and the buzz of the bees and the sweet aroma of the forest flowers and the smell of the soil. And the oak tree in which you arrived into the lower world is not too far in front of you. Get yourself to the mighty oak and stand at the oak tree looking down through the forest and take a deep breath in through your nose and bring in that healing energy of the lower world. Place of peace. A place where time does not exist. A place of spirit. And all of the spirits for the connection today and the messages received. Place the palms of your hands on the trunk of the tree and reconnect with the energy of the mighty oak as it connects with yours. Reflect on your journey for a couple of moments. Release your hands from the trunk of the tree and step back. We are now going to use the oak tree again as the doorway back to the physical world, the middle world. Step forwards and find yourself walking right through the tree and arriving in the center of the tree again, where again you will be bathed and surrounded in a brilliant white light. Suspend yourself there. Cleanse away the energies through the white light, that energy. Cleansing ourselves. Suspension. Weightless. No heaviness. No burden. No illness. No worries. No stress. Let's reset ourselves to those very words. Let's come back into the physical world with a deep healing and cleansing. Thank the oak tree for all the help today. You will become mighty partners. It's time to step out of the oak and step out of the oak tree in the opposite direction in which you walked in. Close your eyes and walk forwards and find yourself walking right through the oak tree, finding yourself arriving back into the physical world. Open your eyes on the journey and you will see you are back in that small field with the rocks and the boulders. Again, give great thanks to the mighty oak for the help today. Feel yourself coming back in to the energy of the physical world. The red gate is not far away. Walk towards that wooden red gate. And right beside the gate you will find the golden path. Open the gate and step to the other side and close the gate behind you. Salute or wave or send a positive thought and energy to the oak tree. This place you will become exceptionally familiar with over the next year. Get yourself onto the golden path and follow the golden path. It will lead you directly back to your safe place, your happy place, your sanctuary. When you do reach your safe place, your sanctuary, sit down in that place. Whether it's outdoors or indoors, sit down and begin to ground yourself back in to the physical world. Feel the earth beneath you. And spend a little bit of time reflecting upon the journey. Feel your body. Wriggle your fingers and wriggle your toes and just feel your body coming back and grounding back into this middle world place, this physical world. And as the shamanic drum begins to slow down, it signifies that this journey is about to come to an end. take your time transitioning from that place back in to the training room here. Gradual and slow transition is always